I feel like I'm finally back on track for 2025. Last fall, I started a 90-day full life reset, and I feel like that has kickstarted my 2025. So I'm gonna share what's been working for me so far. If we haven't met before, hi, my name is Dr. Jamie. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist that's worked as a behavioral scientist for over 10 years, focusing on performance optimization. These days, I'm a mom to a high school freshman that's involved in a bunch of after-school activities, including a varsity sport. I still have my full-time job as a behavioral scientist. I see patients in private practice as a clinical psychologist. I run this YouTube channel, and I still find the time to try out new red lipsticks. So let's hop into the system that's been working for me so far. And if you're asking yourself, what's the big deal? It's only January 8th. You should know that 23% of resolutions are done by January 7th, and 45% are down the drain by February 1st. That failure rate tends to level off after the first month, so let's put the systems in place to help us keep this up for the next few weeks. All right, let's start off in my Notion template. First off, I have a little section here where I'm reminding myself of my top 3 values. Now, I went through this entire exercise to try to identify my values for this year, and it's something that I do fairly regularly, at least once a year. My top 3 values this year are beauty, mastery, and equanimity. If you identify goals that are consistent with your values, it's already going to be a little bit easier for you to hit those goals. So I have those front and center so that I can remember them. I also have a little motivational quote here. I have "Through persistence, I conquer," which is just a reminder to myself that if I keep working a system over and over, I'm likely to see some results. So this is the first strategy that I'm utilizing to ensure that I'm hitting my goals for 2025. I'm selecting goals that are consistent with my values. Selecting goals that are consistent with your values is one of the ways to ensure that you maintain motivation toward those goals as you get through the year. I start by taking those large yearly goals, and I'm going to break them down into smaller sub goals. Those goals will be what I'm trying to hit every quarter, every month, things that I could be doing every week and every day to meet those specific milestones. I do have this template set up for that. So here's the first quarter, and then I have each individual month under that, January, February, and March. After that, I have the second quarter and the third quarter, and I'm gonna leave a link to a free yearly template in the description box down below if you wanted to use this template for yourself. In this video, we're gonna focus on the quarterly review and quarterly breakdown, because one of the special components of the quarterly review is setting up your ideal week, and the specifics of how we're setting up that ideal week is essential to ensure success for your yearly goals. So let's focus on quarter 1. You'll see here that I have a highlight section, and that serves a really specific purpose. When we open up our quarterly goals page, we're gonna have a bunch of questions, and some of those questions are gonna involve things like barriers and how we can overcome those barriers, and that's an important part of meeting your specific goals. But one of the things that is missing sometimes is having additional context around what's going on for that specific quarter. This is part of the reason why I really like to look at goals on a quarterly basis, because depending on where you are in the year, there could be a lot of different things going on. And based on that context, there's a different amount of energy and time that you can invest in your specific goals. So for quarter 1, I'm really excited. I can utilize the fresh start effect to try to propel me to really take steps forward toward my goals. What other things are going on in quarter 1 that I need to consider when I'm thinking about attacking my goals? Just like barriers or obstacles can impact how you move forward, positive things could also impact your goals. And that could be negatively or positively. So for quarter 1, I'm looking forward to going to Japan. That could potentially impact my weight loss because I'm going to a place known for good food. Part of what I will be doing there is exploring different types of cuisine and going to different places. And I'll definitely be visiting restaurants rather than cooking at home since I won't be home. So that can tell me whether or not 140 is a realistic goal. That's 14 pounds away from where I am today in this first quarter. How is that going to impact my ability to do 9 videos over the course of this quarter if I'm going to be gone for a month? That means that I I need to coordinate my time and schedule so that I can get those 9 videos out, possibly before I go, or do some prep to accommodate the fact that I'm gonna be on vacation for a month. Additionally, when I go into these individual cards, I have some questions that I ask myself regarding the specific goal. So 140 pounds is the goal that I'm exploring here. What exactly is it that I want to achieve? I have a specific number, so I'm trying to lose 14 pounds. Why is this goal important to me? It's primarily important to me because I want to fit into my clothing. Is this realistic given the current circumstances? Now, I want to think about what is going on in my life in that first quarter. There is some catching up to do at work in January because we have taken several weeks off for the holiday break. February tends to be pretty chill. In March, I will be going to Japan. Given all of those things, is this something that's realistic given my circumstances? I'm gonna say not really, and I'm gonna decrease potentially to 10 pounds, which is about, let's say, 145 pounds. What are the potential obstacles that I'll have to overcome? I have to make sure that I continue with my meal planning, continue with my personal training app that I started about 45 days ago. So I'm feeling pretty good about the momentum. What are some potential things that I can do if I start to fall off? I can enlist the help of my husband, who's also on a weight loss, healthy fitness journey this January. I could also start meal planning on a weekly basis rather than on a daily basis. And I am already partnered with a personal trainer. I can ask if they will also be my accountability partner when it comes to documenting my nutrition. So I'm gonna say the potential obstacles have to do with meal track, and I can use my husband or my trainer. I could also meal plan on a weekly basis. All right, what are the specific steps that I need to achieve this goal? This is very important. So the specific steps that I need is I need to be at a calorie deficit. I need to work out. I'm gonna say daily. And how will I know that I'm on track for this goal? I need to track my meals and track my workout. I'm gonna do the same thing for the quarterly goal of putting up 9 videos. And all of these questions are also included in the template. So starting off with what is the goal that I want to achieve? This is easy. It is 9 videos. This goal is important to me because I'm trying to grow this channel. Is this realistic given my current circumstances? Yes, I believe that it is because it's actually 3 videos a month, which is a little bit less than I was aiming for last year, and a little bit more than I actually achieved last year. So I've calibrated this yearly goal based on past evidence. So I feel like 9 is pretty realistic. What are the potential obstacles and how will I overcome them? Mostly it's energy because I have a full-time job and that's usually what gets in the way. How will I overcome that? I want to schedule in specific days for me to film and specific days of the week for me to write, edit, and post. Now, what are the steps that I need to achieve the goal? I'm gonna have a day for filming, editing, posting, and I also need to have a conversation with my family because I find that the most disruption comes from having a stressful day at work, but also when my family asks me to do something with them, I find it really, really hard to say no, even when I've protected time to work on YouTube. So I just need to be more clear with boundaries with my family. So establish clear boundaries with family. All right, how will I know if I am on track? I will check on progress every week based on number posted. Perfect. Now that I've gone through that exercise, I know what I have to do to achieve those goals. So I'm going to be meal prepping, meal planning, working out, tracking my workout. I have to schedule in a day for writing, editing, filming, posting, and I think that is all of the action items that we had. Great. Now we can move on to the special part of quarterly goal planning, and that's setting up your ideal week. 12 weeks is a perfect amount of time to try out a different routine and to make enough progress to see if you're moving in the right direction. Now, having a life where I have a full-time job, I'm a content creator, a wife, and mother, makes it so that it's not as easy as picking a random day and a random number of hours that I can work on my goals. Instead, I use this systematic process to set up my ideal week in a realistic way given my life circumstances. This ideal week is going to include individual tasks and actions that are going to move me closer to my goal. But it's also going to keep in mind the regular constraints of life. So here's the process for making a realistic ideal weekly plan. I'm going to start with the things that I have no control over. For me, as a full-time employee, that starts off with meetings that I have at work. These are all meetings that I might not necessarily be in charge of, or they're standing meetings that I really can't move around, so I can't really plan for any goal-directed action during these times. I'm also going to put in any family responsibilities that are non-negotiables. Things like having to drop off or pick up your kid at school, or other things that really require you to be at a specific time and place. Those need to go on the calendar first. So I'm going to activate my family calendar here. You'll see that my son needs to be picked up at 4:30 every day. That means that I have to leave work at 4, so I do the 30-minute commute, and then there's another 30 minutes to get back home. So that blocks out between 4 and 5 every weekday. We also have cleaners that come every other week, and I have to prep the house for the cleaners. It's interesting, I kind of like pre-clean for the cleaners. So I have a little reminder for myself to make sure that I've walked through and prepped the house so that it's ready to be cleaned. I am also going to activate any other time-specific things. I also work in private practice as a clinical psychologist, and I see patients every other Wednesday. So I block out 4 hours in the morning to see patients, and I block out 2 hours to do my administrative tasks related to that, things like updating medical records. So Wednesday is out. I also have coaching clients, and I see coaching clients every Friday from 8 to 9, so that blocks out that hour. And that creates my initial guardrails or protected hours that I can't overschedule. All right, next up, I want to block out things related to my 9 to 5 because that is my primary source of income and I need to continue to pay attention to that. So I have divided up my tasks at work to deep work and shallow work. I am a knowledge worker, so it means I spend a good amount of time in shallow work, especially as an administrator. I am currently the director of a large behavioral science lab, which means I have a lot of administrative tasks and I have a lot of emails. So I've set aside time for that. Now, here's a time to start asking yourself whether or not this is realistic. Now, ideally, I would like to only spend an hour answering email, but I've been in the job long enough to know that that is actually not realistic at all. On Mondays especially, there's going to be a good amount of emails as well as Friday. So I am going to block out 9 to 11, even though those are primary high energy hours for me, I do need to reserve that for email because I'm trying to be realistic in this ideal week. I'm going to set that to repeat every week, and I'm also going to increase time on Friday to 2 hours. I am going to try to maintain just an hour on Tuesdays and Thursdays because those are the days that most of the people within my lab are in person. And if I have to do any face-to-face meetings, I'm going to do that on Tuesday and Thursday. So I'm going to try to keep that open for meetings, and I'm actually going to schedule that in. So if someone wants to meet with me, I'm going to know that I have 2.5 hours on Tuesdays for open office hours. If someone asks me for a meeting, this is the time where I will be able to schedule that. I have a large chunk of time on Monday and Friday for deep work. So I'm going to put that in here. I'm going to put in flex time on Monday, hopefully for deep work. And I'm going to put in some flex time on Friday, also hopefully for deep work. On Friday afternoons, I want to do a weekly reset. That is gonna fall under shallow work. I'm also gonna give myself some additional office hours on Tuesdays. I am just constantly being asked to add more meetings onto my schedule. So these are gonna be 2 protected blocks for that. I have additional flex time here in the morning. I'm actually gonna give myself 2 hours of email time in the morning. Even though it pains me to look at how much shallow work I have, this is just the reality of my situation at work right now. As an administrator, I'm spending a lot of time in this shallow work or a lot of time in meetings and not a lot of time in deep work. I actually have no regular time for deep work in here. I do have flex time on Mondays and Fridays, which hopefully I could devote to some deep work. All right, this is looking pretty good. I don't have any email hours on Wednesday, so I am going to add email here. I'm going to code that as the shallow work that it is. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about having all of my 9 to 5 tasks categorized into these blocks of time. Now that you've done that, you can identify individual pockets of time that you might be able to utilize to advance your goals. I keep these tasks in my routines calendar. So I'm gonna turn that on and you'll see that I have midday check-in and lunch. This means that I'm trying to take a purposeful pause and actually have my lunch. My midday check-in is a way for me to ensure that I'm tracking those meals, that I'm tracking what I had before lunch and during lunch, and I'm also kind of checking in and filling in any of my trackers. In the morning, I notice that I have a big chunk of time. So I have to backwards plan. If I'm going to be checking email at 9 o'clock most days, that means that I have to head out to commute at 8 o'clock. I take about an hour to shower and get ready. So I have an hour of hygiene between 7 and 8. That means that I have to start my workout at 6. And it also means that I have to wake up at 5:30. So now I have my wake up time. I'm going to set that for Monday through Friday. All right, I have my wake up time, my workout time, hygiene time, and then my commute time. I'm giving myself some buffer whenever possible. On Fridays, I do have this coaching call at 8 to 9. So it means that I have to move this a little high. I have to do some modification here. So the commute is going to happen after the coaching call. This email is going to have to be moved down. And also this flex time is probably going away completely. So let's cancel this. And that's probably a more realistic schedule for me on Fridays. All right, what else do I want to schedule in? I need to schedule in meal prep and meal planning. Now I have 2 options here. I could either cut down my hygiene time to 30 minutes or I can move meal prepping to the evenings. Now that I know my wake up time, I know that I want to spend about 7.5 hours asleep. And I want to give myself an extra hour in bed so that I have the opportunity to sleep a little bit longer than that. So I want 8.5 hours in bed, which means that I have to go to bed at 9 o'clock. And if I want to prep my meals the day before, that means that meal prep is happening at 8:30. Meal prep for next day, I'm clicking in there. And that is going to happen on Sunday through Thursday. I also need to do meal planning. Meal prepping is pretty consistent because I make the same thing for breakfast and lunch every day. Meal planning requires a little bit of extra effort. So I'm going to put that in at 9 o'clock and I'm going to put that in as part of my nighttime routine. At night, I do Duolingo, I practice some of my Japanese characters, and I also plan out my meals for the next day. So this is going to be nighttime block, and I'm going to set that up for Sunday through Thursday. That means that bedtime is at 9:30, and that gives me an opportunity to get 7.5, 8 hours of sleep. Now, going back to those goal-related tasks, I have checked off meal prep, meal planning, working out, tracking my workout, and tracking what I eat, because that's what I'm going to be doing during my midday check-in. And I also have another opportunity to check in on my tracking during my nighttime routine block. Next up are scheduling things related to YouTube. So I need to write, film, edit, and post. So I do have a YouTube calendar here, and in the past, I've just blocked out time to work on YouTube, but that's not really working out for me. And I know that because I have data from last year when I tried to do 52 videos and I was only able to do 28 videos. So to meet my goals this year, I need to modify something in my system. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete all of these and start from scratch. Rather than having just generic YouTube, I want to be able to put in specific things that I'm doing. So let me think about my day. So here's when it's good to think about your energy levels and how other things impact your motivation or how you feel at the end of the day. I know that Tuesdays and Thursdays are the most draining days for me at work because most of my staff is remote, with the exception of Tuesdays and Thursdays when everyone comes into the office. And because I'm an omnivore, meaning I can interact with people and I seem fairly extroverted, but being around people actually drains me of energy. So I know that Tuesday and Thursday, I'm gonna have the least amount of energy. So those are days where I could potentially do some research for writing, or I could do thumbnails for posting. So on Thursdays, I give myself 2 hours, thumbnails. I'm gonna call that posting tasks. So that's thumbnails, descriptions, things like that. I'm gonna put that in the YouTube calendar. On Tuesdays, I'm going to be doing research. That is doing competitor research as well as doing research for my writing. Put that in. Okay. Fridays, I have the most energy because I'm really excited about welcoming in the weekend. I also move all of my equipment down to the basement and I spend that time with my husband. So even though I'm working on my YouTube channel, I let him watch whatever he wants on Netflix or YouTube, and we just kind of parallel play, like we're working next to each other even though we're not interacting, and I really enjoy that time together. We usually order delivery and it's a nice day. I think this might be a really good time to work on product launches because I'm not brainstorming necessarily, I'm just refining things like Notion templates or workbooks or other offerings that we have within the company. I think this would be a really good time to do that. Now, filming requires the most focused effort, and it really takes a lot to kind of get everything together, set up the lights. So that really needs to be a specific day. And I think the best day for that is Sunday. Sunday is what we call our free day in the house. So everyone could work on all of their hobbies and things on their own. So I'm gonna set that up between 8 and 5. It's going to be filming, and that is going to be all right. That means that I need to find time for writing and editing. Both of those things are really time intensive and require a large amount of focus. So when is the best time to do that? Okay, I think editing these 2 nights would be a good use of that time. All right. I probably also can't afford to have all of this time be for product launches. So I will need to move research there, product lunches here, and then this will be my writing time. But do I think that I could be an effective writer after having a difficult day at work? Tuesday is a lot of meetings and a lot of time that I'm with other people. So I wonder if writing might be better on Thursday, where I have less standing meetings, and posting tasks would be better on Tuesday. That's like the lowest effort. Okay, so I'm editing Monday and Wednesday, which tend to be lighter lift days in general. Friday, when I'm with my husband and I don't necessarily want to have headphones on, that's when I could be working on general research and specific product launches. I am working on writing on Thursdays when I have potentially a lighter lift at work if no one is there for the office hours, and I might not be as stressed out when I get home. So that leaves writing there. That leaves filming for Sundays. And this is nice because I really want a weekly self-care wind down time. So now that opens up an hour and a half for that before I have to meal prep and do my nighttime routine for Sundays. All right, there's some things that are missing. I still want to work out on Saturdays and Sundays. So let's get that in from 7 to 8. That's going to be on Saturdays and Sundays. And on Saturdays, we have our family day. Historically, we have done family days in the mornings. And when my son has cross country, the meets are usually in the morning. But indoor track during the winter doesn't have meets on Saturdays. And this is why it's really vital that you do your ideal week by the quarter, especially when you have things like kids in school, because first quarter of the year is going to look really different than, say, third quarter of the year when all the kids are out of school. And right now, my son has a standing activity that he does on Saturday mornings with his friends. So I'm going to set up family afternoon on Saturday. So it will be from 12 to, let's say, 6. That way we can do a late brunch, hang out, watch a movie, and that also allows me the late evening for date night, since I want to get that in as well. So I have 12 to 6 for us to be together as a family, and then 6 to 10 will be date night, and that's a time for my husband and I to catch up and actually interact with each other, as opposed to the time we spend together on Friday where I'm really not engaging with him. So I'm also going to put that in the family calendar. Now, having done this, I have identified a block of time where I can insert some goal-related tasks. So right here, this would be a great time for writing, since I don't think I gave writing enough time, as well as kind of like planning out the videos. And that is gonna go in the YouTube calendar. Great. Now going back to my goal-related tasks, I have writing, filming, editing, and posting all during standard times during the week. And I'm gonna go back and identify any other responsibilities that I have in all of my life areas that I need to attend to during the week. If you're interested in what I mean by life areas or life domains, I have an entire video on that. I'll leave it up above, but it's a way to think about your life and consider all the different roles and domains and responsibilities that you have, so that you make sure that you're attending to each of those things. Basically, adulting. I do have some other responsibilities. I am the person who cooks for the household, and that is going to happen between 6 and 7. I'll be cooking the meals and feeding my family, so we're going to have family dinner, and that is going to happen every Monday through Thursday, and it's also going to happen on Sunday. And that's going to be part of the family calendar. And you'll see that that fits in really nicely there. Additionally, I also have some household responsibilities. One of those things is laundry. So I'm gonna put laundry here. and I'm gonna put those in on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's gonna be in the household. That's gonna be on Tuesday, Thursdays, and I'm gonna put it in on Sundays as well. All right, that gives me a little bit of buffer on Monday and Wednesdays. I enjoy having that buffer. I have some blank space here on Wednesday. I'm gonna put in midday check-in and lunch, and I'll have that repeat. All right, I do notice that I have nothing in my leisure category. I also reserve this calendar here, which just says Jamie, for any individual appointments. So things will come up. My week will rarely look like this ideal week, but this is a good starting point. And every week when I forward plan what next week is gonna look like, this is my default mode. I'm trying to get everything to fit into these spaces, but they're not always gonna do that. What I really like about having these blocks put into the Google Calendar is that if I'm not able to say right for these 2 hours on Thursday, I could always move them over to a Friday or see where else I can fit them in. So I like having these movable blocks that I can fill in as things come up. This is how I find the time that I need to accomplish all of my goals in the first quarter. If you're interested in how I selected my goals, check out this video right here.